Good evening, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Khushamadi. Welcome to this special session dedicated to Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi Jayanti, we've all learned in school, is a national festival, a celebration of Satya and Ahimsa. We, the DPS Varanasi, Nashik, and Lava Nagpur family, have come together to celebrate this festival in a novel way. At a time when we are confronted with synthetic role models, we bring to you the story of a real man who, according to Albert Einstein, was deceptively simple. He overturned the greatest empire the world had ever seen. Albert Einstein's words, and I quote, generations to come will scarce believe that such as one as this, ever in flesh and blood, walked upon this earth, I unquote, ring true to this day. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, a young, unsure, timid boy, becomes Mahatma Gandhi. Awe-inspiring, isn't it? Today we have Vikram Sridhar, a leading storyteller of India, to walk us through some of the milestones of the Mohandas to Mahatma journey. As he takes us along, you may put the questions that arise in your mind in the Q&A section. Vikram will respond to all of them at the end. Sir, would you please switch on your video? Vikram, sir? Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Storytelling is an art form that is as old as human existence. In an age where parents resort to television, video, and mobiles to keep their children engaged, Vikram Sridhar believes in narrating. No, let me change my words. In performing stories. He is dedicated to keeping the tradition of telling stories to a live audience alive. An engineering and management graduate by degree, Vikram has chosen to follow his passion. His three areas of interest are theatre, social work, and conservation. The stories he weaves help him pursue all three. He aims to connect children and even adults to the natural world using storytelling as a strong medium of conservation. Today, Vikram will walk us through some of the milestones of M.K. Gandhi's journey. A journey that began with Mohandas, who became Mahatma. The events, the people around him who inspired and motivated him. So without further ado, I invite Vikram Sridhar. It's all yours, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to the DPS group of schools, Lava, Nagpur, Varanasi, and Nasik. I've been to two of your campuses. It's such a wonderful experience to again share space with all of you in the virtual world. But having said that, we'll travel a journey, and 1 hour is not even a dust, and not even a speckle of dust in the life of a person like Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, but we will even the dust is so powerful in our lives. I hope I'm audible. You all can watch me because that's the most important Zoom language today. Today's language is can you see me? Can you watch me? And with that, I'm going forward. Where do we start? Where do we go? 150 years of his birth last year, but still valid even now in a day, in a time when things are changed a lot. And the next few minutes, I'm not going to tell you about his birth and journey, but I'm going to talk to you about few people who touched him, and I experienced those people through my travel and journey. And that's what I'm going to share with you. But remember, I'm not a history teacher. I'm not a historian. So don't find fault in my dates sometime. I'm just a storyteller. And similarly, I might sing, but I'm not a singer. Because to sing Gandhi, you don't have to be a singer. You need to just have the bhakti. And that's what I'm going to take you. वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे, वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे, पीड़ पराए जानी रे, पर दुख उपकार करे तो ये, पर दुखे उपकार करे तो ये, मन अभिमान न आनी रे, वैष्णव जन तो. I'm sure you've all sung this song when you were a child, if you're a teacher, and all the students who are watching this, and all the parents who are watching this would have sung the song at least once, but heard it many, many, many times. But how many times have we gone and understood this bhajan a little more closer? Because the language that is created might not be our mother tongue or father tongue, because it is Gujarati, Kem Cho. And this is the opening stanza of this long song, which I will take you to understand this person and the beauty of his philosophy. वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे, पीड़ पराए जाने रे, पर दुखे उपकार करे, मन अभिमान न आनी रे. Call those people Vaishnava who feel the pain of others, help those who are in misery, but never let self-conceit enter their minds. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Every city that we are in, every town we are in, will have a street, will have a statue named after him, or at least an MG Road or a Gandhi Road. And that's a way that we travel with him every day. But I'm taking you back in time when he returned from South Africa to India, packing his bags, packing all his business commitment, because he was a lawyer. He was not a politician. He was a lawyer by profession. And when he came back to India, it was 1915, 105 years back, yes. And in 1915, when he landed in India, he didn't go to Delhi, he didn't go across Gujarat, he didn't go across to Kolkata, he didn't go to the big cities, but he came to a small little town in the southern part of India, which is not the capital, which is not the city that we might know, which is not the Madras, which is not the Bangalore, but he came to a little town called Tillayadi. Tillayadi might be even difficult to pronounce for some of you. And Tillayadi is a little town from Madras, about a few kilometers away on the coast of the East Coast Road. And that's why he went to the little town and he stayed there. And today, what remains of this place is a memorial, which you might see in this image. Why did he go there? What is this village? And that struck me when I went to the Sabarmati Ashram a few years back. And if you go to Sabarmati Ashram and you see the lifeline on the entire timeline of Gandhiji, there'll be one big photo of a girl. This hazy image of a girl who stands tall. The largest picture in this entire museum is only this little girl. And her name is Tillayadi Valli Ammai. What is her impact on Gandhiji? What did she do? Why did she do? And did she walk with him? Did she talk to him? Did she spend time in the Satyagraha? Let's go to South Africa. Let's go to South Africa many, many years back. We might know some cities, Durban, of course, Johannesburg. But this little girl, Tillayadi Valli Ammai, was born in 1898, not in India. And the word by itself, some names will tell us from where they come from. Tilliyadi Valliyammi, the name itself is synonymous to a southern Tamil name. She was born to Munuswami Mudalayar and Mangalam. And they had migrated from the little town of Tillayadi in Nagapattinam in Tamil Nadu, in the district of Nagapattinam, which experienced tsunami many years back. And they moved to South Africa as laborers, as the laborers of the British East India Company. They had moved with many other southerners into South Africa. And when they had moved into South Africa, they started working as laborers, hard labor. And they worked day in and day out. And that was the time when Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi went to South Africa to work as a barrister. He had studied law and he had come into South Africa to work, on-site opportunity maybe. And he started working there. And while he was working, he had seen many Indians, and especially he saw the plight of the southern Indians, the Tamil community, who didn't speak English, who didn't speak the local language, but they were there in groups and large, so much that Gandhi also learned to read, talk a bit of Tamil. And that is how Tilliyadi is connected. Tilliyadi Valliyammi was born. And she was born and she didn't study. She joined her parents. Her father had a small dukan, chota dukan, for selling provisions to his other community people. And she didn't have the luxury to go to a well-to-do school, but she spoke Tamil. And she loved the Indianness in her. She knew that the country she belonged to was India that time, 1898, 1900, India of that time. And one such time, the very famous law was passed, which I'm sure you find in a textbook. The law that was passed was that any marriage according to the Marriage Act of South Africa, which is not with the law of South Africa, will be null and void. And Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi began his opposition. He started a huge opposition that time, saying that, but not everybody here can adhere to that. That no. And Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, as a person now, was very different than when he was a child. As a child, you know what? Like many of you, he was also a naughty child. He used to like to turn the ears of dogs to see how they come back. And naughty Gandhi today started fighting. This was when he went on roads. And from Transvaal to Natal, he took a walk. And this was October 1913, 1-3. There was a tax that was imposed. The 3-pound tax was imposed. And Gandhi was, for all that, started a satyagraha. And he started walking and walking and walking and walking and walking. And of course, like many others, he was imprisoned. But then on that walk, he stopped to look at the women who were walking. And he saw a little girl who was not even to his height, but a little puny girl who was about 12, 13 years old. That's it. 12, 13 years old little girl, and she was marching. She must be the age of some of you who are watching, and she was walking and walking and walking. And she was also jailed along with everybody, and she was sent to jail in South Africa. And that's when Gandhi met her and got to know her name was Valliyammi. And Gandhi asked her, Beti Valliyammi, don't you repent of you having to go to jail? And Valliyammi laughed. Gandhiji, repent. In her own broken Tamil and little English, she said, I'm even now ready to go to jail again if I'm arrested. And in the jail, when everybody asked, the jailers asked, what nation are you? Which country are you from? She boldly replied, I'm an Indian. And to explain that, she tore her sari. She told what we call the half sari. Half sari that she was when she tore the sari and put it on the face and told him, I belong to this country which produces this cloth, khadi. And Gandhi again asked Tilliyadi Valliyammi, what little girl, but what if you don't survive this jail? You're such a little girl. You're not even teen. You're just in your 12 and 13. What will happen to you? And she said, I don't mind Gandhi. Who would not love to die for one's motherland? Was her reply. And this little girl spent a time in the jail and she shrunk inside little by little. And that hit to him. If a little girl in South Africa is fighting for the rights of my country in India so far away, what am I doing right here? Should I be here or should I go back? And that was one of the very strongest incidents that Gandhi quotes for a reason to come back, packing his bags, packing the entire family, bringing with Kasturba and the other sons to come back to India. But Tiliadi Valliammai, you have to remember, was still in jail when this decision was happening. And 1914, when the new year dawned, when Christmas was celebrated, and then January came, slowly Tiliadi Valliammai was released. And she was so small, that so frail that she couldn't even walk back. And Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi lifted her and carried her in his hands. And he brought her back home. He brought her back home. And she spent the next few days very, very, very sick, coughing, and recuperating from the hard times in the jail. But then, her resolve was very strong. 22nd February 1914, when she was just 16 years of age, Tiliadi Valliammai died. Born 22nd February 1898 and died 22nd February 1914. Date of birth and date of death is same. But the few years she lived, the impact she left on Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi so much when he came back, he spent a lot of time going back to Tiliadi and reminiscing his moments of inspiration this little girl gave Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. And this little girl might not have photographs, might not have lot of documentation, but the only image that remains of her is this little image. And the sari she's wearing is popularly called the half sari that little girls in the teens wear in the southern India. Tiliadi Valliammai. वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जय पीड़ पराये जानी रे पर दुख उपकार करे तो ये मन अभिमान न आनी रे सकल लोके माँ सहुने वंदे निंदन करे के नीरे वाच काच मन निश्चल राखे धन धन जननी से नीरे. They respect the entire world, do not disparage anyone, keep their words, action and thoughts pure. The mother of such a soul is blessed. Vaishnava Janato Tene Kahiye. They call those people Vaishnava or the Almighty. So time passed for Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. He came to India and they say about 22 times or more than that he visited Tamil Nadu again and again and again. But those stories are for another day. And when he came back, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi had to set up his office. He had to set up a new office, he had to set up a new system, and he had not been in India for a very long time. He didn't understand the systems in India. It has changed from a South Africa, he was an NRI, to now all full time in India. And that was the time he looked around Ahmedabad, and along the banks of Sabarmati, he set up the ashram. And when he was setting this ashram, you see, he was about in his 40s. He was about 40s, and he wanted someone to be his right hand. He wanted somebody to be with him, to do his daily accounting, to do his daily talk, to even keep track, what we call executive assistant. And this was not possible for many. And he was, in his heart, he was waiting for such a person. And 1917, change that course. And every day evening from that time, when he came back, he used to sit in the evening and give discourses on the Sabarmati Ashram, on the bank of the Sabarmati Ashram, on the Sabarmati River. And when he was doing that, people would come, people would listen, people from across India would gather, whoever can, and with his very frail voice, he would keep talking. But you listen to that in Gujarati, there were people who came and sat, especially youngsters, especially one of the youngsters who really listened to him, maybe not in Ahmedabad, is the other person whose birthday is today, and the second Prime Minister of India, Lal Bahadur Shastri. And there was three such boys, youngsters, full of energy, full vigor, who could go and sit there. Vami Anand, Narhari Parekh, and Mahadev. And they didn't know that their lives are going to change. Mahadev especially didn't know his life was going to change. And he was sitting there, and Mahadev used to listen to Bapu, and he used to ask him questions every day. He used to write letters and letters and letters and letters and ask Bapu every question. And how do we know that Mahadev is so important in Gandhi's life? Is this book, which some of you might have read, The Story of My Experiment with Truth. What we think is autobiography. And you open it, and you feel the first page. And below the first page, it's signed Mahadev Desai. Who is Mahadev Desai? Did he write Gandhi's life? He did. Mahadev Desai. And when Gandhi started his ashram, like I said, along with his friends, he used to go and listen to Gandhi's words. Especially Mahadev and Narhari Parekh offered their criticisms very openly. And they waited for Gandhi to reply. They used to sign together. And they used to sign together. And Gandhi used to read them, sometimes respond, sometimes not respond. And one day, Gandhi came for a public meeting. And in the public meeting, it was a hall, it was a big hall, which is called the Prema Bhai Hall. And Gandhi was addressing everybody, and everybody was listening. And when he finished, and he was about to go back to the ashram, both these youngsters went and asked Gandhi with a very frail voice, Gandhi, or Bapu, they used to call him. Have you read our letters? We've been writing to you every day, because Gandhi used to ask everybody opinion. How do you think the ashram should be? What should I do? What do you think? What do you think? He used to have a public questioning of people, and people used to pour their responses to him. And they used to reply. And one such time, when this happened, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was walking, and these two youngsters went and asked, did you read our letter? We've been writing to you. You asked for criticism. We've been telling criticism. Why don't you respond to us? And he turned, and he looked at them, and he understood who these two boys were. And he said, I have received a letter signed by two persons. Are you the two? And the both of them replied, the joy when somebody you respect talks to you and responds to you. And then Gandhi said, well, let's not talk here. Will you come to the ashram? Let's sit and talk. And they went to the ashram. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, Mahadev Desai, and Narhari Parekh went to the ashram, and they sat down. And they started talking and exchanging words and sharing thoughts. And they were not the same age. They were much, much, much younger than Gandhiji. They were almost 30 years difference between them. And when they came out from the meeting, it was a light drizzle. It was drizzling a bit. And if you see the Sabarmati ashram along the coast, the sands of Sabarmati ashram, and the rain, the drizzle, the atmosphere there is very, very beautiful. And they spoke to each other, and silently, they were very silent for a long time. And Mahadev broke that silence. He broke that silence and said to Parekh, Narhari, I have a mind, you know what? I just want to go and sit in front of this man. I don't want to go for a job. And he was working. He was a man who was going for work. He was married. He had a family. And he said, I just want to surrender. And he was not the only one. There were thousands of people who were willing to do that. But Mahadev meant it. And he said, we'll be blessed if we can do that. And they thought for it. And later, few days went past. And this desire was so strong with them. And even before Mahadev Desai could join, Narahari Parikh went and joined the Gandhi's ashram in April 1917. And a lot of things are happening there. And Mahadev had to make up, and Gandhi had asked Mahadev also by now, will you also join me in the ashram? And Mahadev Desai had to make up his mind. He had to make up his mind, and nonetheless, he continued to remain in touch with the ashram and with Gandhi. And one such meeting in Bombay, Gandhi spoke to Mahadev Desai and asked him, can you visit me every day? I want you to come and stay with me, Mahadev. I want you to just be with me, Mahadev. I found in you the type of young man for whom I have been searching. It's you. I want you to be with me. I wanted the man whom I can call and entrust my entire work someday. I can rely on you. I know it's you. I'm confident, said Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. And when that happened, Mahadev Desai was like elated. He said, my God, is this real? Is this happening? And he had to pinch his skin. And he joined Gandhiji. And from 1917 to 1942, for 25 years, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi and Mahadev Desai when always seen together. Mahadev Desai was right next to Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi till 1942. And what did he do? And there's one such incident that Mahadev Desai writes in his autobiography. Because every day when he used to write, and Mahadev Desai used to sleep before Gandhi, sleep after Gandhi, wake up before Gandhi, and he used to write every day what Gandhi did. He used to write, did Gandhi eat chapati? Did Gandhi walk 5 kilometers? And for some of you who are in Nagpur, you'll know the Sevagram Ashram, and he used to walk every day from the ashram to Wardha to post letters. He used to walk so much, and he had no complaints. And one such time, Mahadev Desai was asked to cook. And Gandhi was extremely busy with his work, and he finished all his work, and he was waiting hungry. And he was so hungry that the dal that was coming, that sizzling dal, that yummy dal with chawal, and that was waiting for Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. And Mahadev Desai, in his own style, brought the chawal, he got some fruits, and he got the dal. And he placed it in front of Gandhiji. And Gandhi said, sit down, Mahadev. You can also have. But Mahadev said, Bapu, you finish. Because I have other work and I'll eat. And Bapu started eating. He started tearing the roti or taking the chawal in his hand. And he mixed the dal with it. And he mixed it and mixed it and mixed it. And he ate it. And he ate it nicely and nicely and nicely. And suddenly he opened his eyes. He had a twinkle in his eyes. And he said, and he called out. Because Mahadev had gone a little away. And he said, Mahadev, come here. And Mahadev said, what, Bapu? What happened? And he said, Mahadev, how did you make this dal? And how did you make this dal? And Mahadev said, well, I just took dal, put water in it, and just boiled it in a cooker. I mean, just put layers over it. And what do we do with that? I mean, this is a normal dal. And Mahadev writes in his words, and Bapu told him, let me tell you how it is made. And he talks to him and he tells him, you see, when I was in jail and we had to cook, I learned a way to make dal. Instead of boiling the dal with the water, take the dal and in a cooker, have one layer of water, keep the bottom layer of water, and keep the dal above it. And just boil the water. And just boil the water. And he said, let the boil water and the boiling water. And he just said, that's how the water will melt. And with the melting of the water, the dal will also get boiled and it will be steamed in a very beautiful way. And that taste of the dal will be very different when you boil it along with water. And Mahadev said, this man in all the busy schedule, he has people to answer, he has people to talk to. My God, what to do? And he said, he has time to even think of dal. And he writes that in the autobiography of Mahadev. Mahadev Desai writes in his own book. And that's written in, of course, Gujarati and translated to English. And it's available because he was watching this man from a distance. But Mahadev Desai, 1942, fast forward. And some of you, of course, will definitely know. If you go to Pune, there is this beautiful, which is now a palace called Aga Khan Palace, where the other half of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, Kasturba, is memorial is. And this was 1942 when everybody was jailed in the Aga Khan Palace. One morning, Gandhi gets the call, Bapu, come fast. Bapu, come fast, come fast, come fast. And he came running to see what has happened. And when he came running, Mahadev's eyes were closed. He had a stroke on the night of 14th August 1942, which means on 15th August 1942, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi lost Mahadev Desai. And he cried and he wept and he shouted, Mahadev, Mahadev, Mahadev. And he said, maybe he'll come back if he hears my voice. But Mahadev never came back. But what Mahadev documented, Bapu's life, is what we read many, many times. The translated version from Gujarati of many of his works, of many of his writings, is what we know. And Mahadev Desai also rests in the Aga Khan Palace in Pune, next to Kasturba Gandhi. Many a time in our life, there will be somebody in your house, somebody in your office, or somebody in your family who will be this Mahadev Desai, who selflessly work for people around us, who don't come to the limelight, who we really don't know. But these people lift the people we know. These people light up these people that we read about. And this is something that we constantly look around. Maybe it could be the security guard of a school who gives a smile. It could be the bus conductor. It could be people around us. It could be our maids. It could be anybody. It could be sometimes a friend who get lost in our story. Mahadev Desai, for me, was that when I went to Aga Khan Palace and saw his name, 15th August 1942. 15th August. Does it ring a bell? And Mahadev Desai was a secretary to Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. And every time you see a picture of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, you might see him next to him, standing like this, and giving a pose as if he's just another person. He was another person, but he everything to Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. And from there, where do we travel? Where do we travel? वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे. And the song goes on to a para. समदृष्टि ने कृष्ण त्यागी पर श्रीजे ने मात रे. जीवत किया सत्य न बोले पर धन नव चाले हाथ रे. They see all equally, renounce craving, respect up the woman as their own mother. Their tongue never uttered false words. Their hands never touched the wealth of others. Vaishnava Janato, Tene Kahiye je. Vaishnava Janato, la 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 la. And once I was in the Kutch region of Gujarat. I was walking in the Kutch region of Gujarat. I had finished this, I've gone to this place called Mandvi, and I was returning back from Mandvi. And when I was returning back from Mandvi, it was extremely hot. It was about, I think, 40 degrees, 45 degrees. It was burning hot. And that was when I suddenly see this image of a building. I see this building suddenly on the roads of Kutch. And I wondered, what is this building? It's a very European little building which is resting on the shores of Mandvi. And I went closer. I went closer and I went closer and closer and closer. And suddenly the door opened and there was a huge gush of AC that blasted. And they asked the watchman, what is this? And he said, ye memorial hai. This is a memorial of Shyamji Krishna Verma. And Shyamji Krishna Verma, memorial this is. Who's Shyamji Krishna Verma? I didn't know that time. And I went closer into the museum. And I started looking around that museum and started understanding that Shyamji Krishna Verma was another person, was another barrister who fought for our independence, not from India, but from London. He had started what was called the India House to give like a PG, a paying guest for all those people who traveled to London to study and to stay in a very affordable accommodation. He had built the India House, and that is where all the freedom fighters who went to London used to have an interaction, talk, chit chat, and have a lovely understanding of each other's vision. And Shyamji Krishna Verma was such a person. And he lived in London and he used to organize these meetings with everybody. And one such day, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was there and he had gone to London like any other work of his. And this was a time that one of the very popular encounters of Gandhi happened with Savarkar. And by this time, Shyamji Krishna Verma had found what was called the Indian sociologist. And it was rapidly developing, and they organized multiple meetings, and which was not known to the British at that time. And many other people were involved. And there was a time when there was a small meeting between Madam Kama, V. Savarkar, there was Lala Haryad Lal, and many other persons. Gandhi was there during that visit. And he entered. And when he entered the India House, he could smell a very strong, pungent smell. And Shyamji was inviting him inside, but Gandhi said, but the smell is very strong. I mean, I don't know what this is. Oh, and Shyamji said, oh, that is because our guest is cooking for us today. And Gandhi said, but who is cooking? What are you cooking? And he went towards the kitchen. he went towards the kitchen and he saw Savarkar was cooking. And Savarkar was cooking prawns. And Savarkar was cooking prawns, was frying the prawns, and this was very strong. And Gandhi said, "What are you cooking? Who will eat all this? Why would we eat all this? This is such a no. I don't think. And I mean, and you're a vegetarian. Why are you eating all this?" And he was just showing his distaste. And Savarkar told him one sentence. And Savarkar said, "But well, Gandhi, if you don't accept other ideologies, how are we going to fight independence together? If we don't accept other ideologies, how are we going to fight this independence, satyagraha, non-cooperation, all the movements together?" Asked Savarkar. And this was very strong to Gandhi to start accepting other people's ideologies, but travel together. Though Shyamji Krishna Varma just met Gandhi twice, first at the India House, and the second was at the Queen's Hall in London, this particular visit finds a very strong mention in many records. And Shyamji Krishna Varma later was barred from many places, and he went to Geneva, and later he died in Geneva. And his ashes were in an urn, and in early 2000s, his urn was brought to India, and it was brought to India and was brought to Gujarat, and on a huge yatra, it was taken to Kutch and kept in this museum. And today, if you go to this museum, you will see the story of the India House over there. And Shyamji Krishna Varma was a meeting pot whenever Gandhi went to London to interact, and this ideologies outside the country were slowly developed over there. And this museum is vast, is large, and has a lot of stories to tell by itself. And till India got independence, his will said, don't bring my ashes to India. But he didn't come immediately, it came many years later. Shyamji Krishna Varma. And Shyamji Krishna Varma, this is Shyamji Krishna Varma. And that is Shyamji Krishna Varma. And time passed. And like the Sabarmati Ashram, on my many journeys, I went to the ashram that some of you in Nagpur would have definitely gone, and many of us in India have never gone. I've asked this to many people across India. I've asked even in Ahmedabad, I've asked in Delhi, I've asked many people, do you know the other ashram that's very popular? No. Of course, you all know the Sevagram ashram. And that's where I'm taking you for another story for today. वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीर पराये जाने रे पर दुखे उपकार करे ये मन अभिमान न आनी रे मोह माया व्यापे नहीं जेने हृदय वैराग्य जेने मन मरे राम नाम सुचाली लागी सकल तीर्थ तेने तनम रे. Is the fourth stanza of the song. They do not succumb to worldly attachments. They are firmly detached from the mundane. They are enticed by the name of Ram. All places of pilgrimage are embodied in them. Ram, the Almighty, here. And in Sevagram, you find this beautiful little cottage, which is which stands out from all the other places. And if you go a little closer to this cottage, you see a story that's just panning out. And this cottage was not made of brick. This cottage was not made of cement. It was made of a material which is very common, wood. And you go closer, this cottage opens up. And this is called Parchure Kuti. And this Parchure Kuti was very interesting for me to see where this lies. And this Parchure Kuti is where I'm taking to the next story. So years pass and many years pass, and Gandhi sets up his ashram in Sevagram. Mahadev Desai has moved to Sevagram, and all his operations are happening in Sevagram. And Gandhi sings satsang. Gandhi has a prayer meeting every day, and every day people come from everywhere in India to listen to him. And he again sings Raghupati Raghav Raja Ram. Raghupati Raghav Raja Ram, Patita Pavan Sitaram. Raghupati Raghav Raja Ram, Patita Pavan Sitaram. Sitaram, Sitaram, Mujhe pyare Sitaram. And every day people are singing the bhajan again and again and again before they start volunteering the service. And one such day, when Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi is talking and listening to the bhajan, everybody around starts fidgeting. They start fidgeting and they sense a very, very, very strange feeling. And with that strange feeling, they start moving out. They don't know what is happening. They don't know what is that, because one person is reacting, somebody else gets up. And this was the cold winter of 1939. 1939, December, imagine December in the middle of India. This is not the southern India where there is no winter. This is the middle of India where it's a chilling winter of 1939. And a village, because Sevagram, even now, it's a beautiful village. And Gandhi was a part of the entire satsang, and everybody is singing and singing and singing. And suddenly the smell comes and everybody moves away. And everybody moves away, and Gandhi opens his eyes and he looks a little left. And Gandhi looks a little left and he looks and he sees a bundle of flesh, just a bundle of flesh which is filled with blood and not something that anybody likes to see. And everybody was running away. And Gandhi put his hand front. He put his hand in front and lifted the head of the person. He lifted him slowly. And slowly when he lifted him, what shook him was something he never wanted to see. And Gandhi said, "Aap? Shastri ji?" And this was Parchure Shastri. The Parchure Shastri who Gandhi learned many things from the Veda, from the Upanishads, the interpretation of the Gita that Gandhi talks about from him in the Yerwada jail in 1932. And Gandhi's death was flashing all that in his mind. And such a learned person, such a knowledgeable person like Shastri was now in a bundle of flesh. And he said, "Bapu or Gandhi, I just came here. I'm here to just go away." And Gandhi said, "No, you are not going to go away. You are no, what are you talking? This is your ashram. We will take care of you. Why should you do this?" And Bapu asked everybody. He asked his volunteers, "Will you take care of him? Will you take care of him? Will you take care of him? Will you take care of him?" And he looked at everybody. But this was not a time of 2020. This was 1939, when the stigma of untouchability, the stigma of communicable diseases was very different. And people thought that what disease that Parchure Shastri had would come to them. And this, at that time, was the peak, which was nothing but leprosy. And Parchure Shastri was suffering from the last bit of his time with his leprosy. And Gandhi was looking at him and he said, but Gandhi was saying, "Love. But you're my guru, I can't just leave you." And this changed the course of many followers. And what Gandhi did, and he said, will you all take care of him, or should I take care of him? And some of them still were not okay. They said, "Bapu, but if you touch him, you will also get leprosy." And the entire ashram, there are children, there are women, there are senior citizens, there are many people visiting you. We can't take the risk. Bapu, don't, Bapu, don't, please. But Bapu said, Give me a chance, said Bapu. And he said, just be with me. And he took Pachwe Shastri into his own kuti, what is called the Bapu kuti. He took him to the Bapu's kuti and he started nursing him every day, not with medicine, but by listening and talking to him. In his very busy schedule, he spent every day few minutes to clean his wounds and listen to him word by word. He used to listen very slowly to him. And he listened and he exchanged words. And Pachwe Shastri started talking to him. And Pachwe Shastri talked to him. And every time he spoke to him, Bapu could see a small change happening to Pachwe Shastri. And when Bapu sat and nursed him, the volunteers around him slowly came towards Bapu and understood that this leprosy is not something which is going to affect anybody. But then if you share love, a person who's suffering can also heal. And Pachwe Shastri did heal. He slowly healed. The wounds that he was carrying slowly healed. And he slowly came out from that. But then, of course, it's a disease that he was ailing from. So that story is another day. And time went past, and Bapu didn't have time so much that he could give him every day. So Bapu said, build a kuti which is in my sight, a little away from me. And there I shall sit and watch. I shall sit and watch so that my guru gets healed. And he built a room which was a privacy, which gave him privacy so that he could spend his time reading and singing and praying. And that Pachwe kuti is what is there in today's Sevagram. And that was transparent and made of wood so that Bapu could see it in his eyes. And when that happened, Bapu had a small thought. Bapu said, if this is what is happening to the most learned person that I know, what about the rest of the citizens in my country? What are the other people going to do? 1939. And Bapu's feeling was so anxious that he called the most important person who changed the course of leprosy in India. And he built what was the first public leprosy hospital. And he was Manohar Diwan. He invited Manohar Diwan to come and asked Manohar Diwan, would you give a piece of your land? Can you help build this hospital that I have in mind near Wardha? And Manohar Diwan immediately said yes, and he helped Bapu set up this hospital. He set up the first leprosy hospital near Wardha, not in a city like Mumbai, Delhi, and set up this hospital in Wardha. And later, Pachwe Shastri also went to this hospital and spent the rest of his time there. But watching this far away was one socialist person that we all today know. And he was watching this from far away. And he was influenced by this act of Gandhi, that he said, I wanted to sacrifice my entire life to upliftment of these poor people who don't have money, to help them, to give them treatment, to give them free medical care. And that was none other than Baba Amte. And Baba Amte, who was inspired by this act, set his journey for the next few years in his life by offering all his services. And he was not a trained doctor. He didn't train in medicine. He didn't train in any form, but he learned how to treat people. And he served the people of the district of Nagpur and Wardha. Some of you definitely would know him much more than me. And inspired from him, his son today continues the work, the great work of his father. And that son, Prakash Amte, not only serves the people. And love is just not for the people. It's just not for your friends. It's just not for teachers. But isn't it also for the wildlife around us? Isn't it also for the animals around us whom we hurt every now and then? The love that Bapu showed Pachare Shastri is also the same love we need to show wildlife. We need to show to the ants around us. We need to show to the squirrels around us, the rats around us, the deers around us, and to every little species around us. And Prakash Amte today, it comes in lots of television, comes in lots of news that we all follow. But his inspiration goes back to a time when people didn't go near people who had leprosy. वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीर पराए जानी रे पर दुख उपकार करे तो ये पर दुख उपकार करे तो ये मन अभिमान न हानि रे. The last stanza of this is Vana lobi ne khapat rahis seche Kama krodha niravya re Bhane narsiyo teenum Daratana haratam Kula ekathore tarya re. They have forsaken greed and deceit. They stay afar from desire and anger. Narsi says, Narsi Mehta, who wrote these words, I'd be grateful to meet such a person, a soul, whose virtue liberates their entire lineage. Vanalobine kapat rahi seche Kama krodani varyare. But is Mahatma just one person? Or is it the qualities that he exhibited at every point? The thing from Tilyadi Valyam that he learned that age, gender, caste is not a barrier for you to put forth your thoughts. And from Mahadev Desai, this entire life of surrender. And from Pachare Shastri and the episode about love, which can change people, touch people, which can be the great tool in today's time. And also open to other people's opinion, other people's life, which may not be the same as us. And these are qualities that can create a Mahatma. There may be many more. You can keep adding many, many more. But there can be many Mahatmas. Each of you watching this are a Mahatma. That's what the song says. That's what Gandhi said. That's what he wrote in his autobiography, My Experiments with Truth. Each of you, the teachers who are watching this, the children who are watching this, the parents who are watching this, each of you are a Mahatma. If you can touch these qualities that's mentioned somewhere in his life. Our parents are Mahatma. Our teachers are Mahatma. And everybody, knock that Mahatma in you. It'll open up. It's hidden in all of us. Some people open it out and we read their stories. But let that Mahatma in you bloom out. And instead of Vaishnava Janato, I'm going to replace it with Mahatma Janato. Mahatmana Janato tene kahiye je pid paraye jani re par dukhe upkar kare to ye par dukhe upkar kare to ye man abhiman ani re. Call those people Mahatma who feel the pain of others, help those who are in misery, but never let self-conceit enter their mind. And you, each one of you, are a Mahatma, and I hope to meet the Mahatma in you, in your journey and my journey. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Namaste.
That was really enthralling. We have a couple of questions. Vibhuti Burman has said that if you could narrate an anecdote with Lal Bahadur Shastri, as today also happens to be his birth anniversary, because it's a little too short a notice, but if you could narrate one small anecdote.
So Lal Bahadur Shastri had 6 children, 4 sons and 2 daughters. And once his son had gone, Arun Shastri had gone and met the father. And on a dialogue, his father said that always be a grass and don't be a flower. And he said, Papa, I don't understand this. And Shastri ji had said, you see, a grass is always evergreen. It's always lush in winter, summer, and everything. But if you are a flower and you want attention, you will wither away when the season is not. So be the foundation of a building. Don't let the building take over you, but always be the foundation. And that's one such episode with his son that Shastriji's son quotes in a lot of his talk. And the other one is also when he became the prime minister, his son went to have his license. I mean, went to without his permission. He was underage and got the license. And Shastri said, "You just can't use my name for this and this." And he wept, saying, "My son cannot do this." I mean, and he came back. The 2 years that he was, many stories. I mean, yeah. And today also is the death anniversary of the person who made Shastri the Prime Minister of India, Kamaraj. So this is also the death anniversary of Kamaraj, who died on October 2nd. So there are 3 people who are synonymous with October 2nd. Kamaraj was called the Kingmaker.
Yes, Kamaraj. Yes, sir. That he was. There is one question which is anonymously asked. And you just told us that the book was actually written by Mahadev Desai, Story of My Experiments with Truth. So actually, who has written the book? All of us know of it as Gandhiji's, autobiography.
So a person like him, I mean, this was also his biography was written in 1920, his autobiography. And he wrote it in Gujarati, but the translation was by Mahadev Desai. So because we all read the English version, which is the translated version. And so what he used to do is he used to finish translation and go and show to Gandhi, and Gandhi used to sign it off saying, "Theek hai," and then correct the grammar. So, and then there is also an autobiography of Mahadev Desai, not an autobiography, but diary entry. So he has a diary.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying.
The one that you said maintained regularly. Every day he would.
Every day.
He would write in his diary. Yes. There is another question by. Again, this is anonymously asked. It would be wonderful if people put their names. He says, why was Gandhiji killed? What do you think was the thought behind such an act? Why was he assassinated? Let's not go into the politics of it. Let's just take this question from the heart.
We don't know. Sometimes we really don't know why things happen in our life. I mean, I will leave it to that. I mean, because we just don't know, and we'll never know why. And everybody has their reason. I mean, agree to disagree. And maybe that's one they say. Sometimes you remember people the way that they exit the world, and maybe that added to him in a certain way, his exit.
Right. You're very right. You know, the generation that is there right now knows more about Prakash Amte and quite less about Baba Amte. So other than this, the one anecdote that you shared, something more about Baba Amte, if you can.
Very simple man. I mean, it's very just the amazing. Not many episodes. Some of these people, some of them are not as documented as much. So even stories are very less. But his life in a very small town. I mean, somebody who could have gained popularity, but is very. I think still they are very down to earth and such a family. So that is amazing of the work that Baba Amte has done to the people in the community. You don't have to go outside. So in his own community, he gave it back to the people in their own language, in their own what we call empowerment. And that is and yeah, so that simplicity. I mean, the simplicity today is also very becoming a big term, but just being himself and doing work and let others talk about it, and that's something was very, very startling for me, because I mean, he has not written much. There's no interview of Baba Amte also much, but others have written about him, and that's, I think, an inspiration for everybody. Keep doing your work, and that's, yeah.
Absolutely. It I think, rings very true when you, the way you ended, that there's a Mahatma in each one of us. So I think the very simplicity and the selflessness with which Baba Amte has worked bespokes him also to be a Mahatma. Right?
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Even Vinoba Bhave has had a lot of influence.
Yes, yes. A huge influence Vinoba Bhave has had. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Vikram, for such an enthralling session. I would call it a beautiful amalgamation of history, ideology, and humanism. And you have brought your conservation also into it, your other passion, when you spoke about how we need to even look at animals with this light, with love, with, they even have the right to live. All these small anecdotes that you shared, the events that you have highlighted, and the little known people. I, for one, never knew about Valiamma or even about Shyamji Krishna Verma. I had read about India House when I had read Gandhiji's autobiography, but not much about Shyamji Krishna Verma. And even the fact that there is a whole museum dedicated to him in Mandvi. So you have actually brought together people, little known people, who have probably steered Mahatma Gandhi's phenomenal journey in big and small ways. Thank you. Thank you for giving us so much of your precious time. And
thank you, ma'am. Thanks to all of you who are listening, who are watching, who are sharing your time, because time is the biggest gift that you can give to these times.
Most precious gift. And I really love the way you wove the bhajan into your narrative. Mahatma Gandhi is now synonymous with this bhajan, this one, and Raghupati Raghav. So it's beautiful the way you, I think, जिसको हिंदी में कहते हैं ना कि एक धागे में पिरो दिया आपने, अलग अलग मोती लिए और उसे पिरो दिया एक धागे में. So that is what you have successfully.
Because a lot of people have asked, do you know the meaning of this song?
Yes.
Because I think it's, of course, I mean, it's a bhajan, but it is very secular in its own way of human.
Absolutely. There is someone, one Ashish Kumar, who is again talking about, Gandhi. His initial question was that what did Gandhi try to accomplish with his activism, is what Mr. Ashish Kumar wants you to respond to. What did he accomplish with all this activism?
So
your take on it.
The word activism is very interesting. So if you look at the definition of activism is nothing but just questioning, and let's say like an heritage activist. It's not somebody who goes and protests. It's somebody who talks about it, who talks his mind, or her mind. And that way he spoke his mind. And I don't think, he ever started with an agenda. Nobody, a bigger agenda. Of course, there was Purna Swaraj at the end of life. But he was just true to himself. He's trying. That's why his autobiography is called My Experiments with Truth.
With truth, yes.
And that's what he's fighting with. And then there is a very popular quote that there are two people in life he couldn't convince. One was our neighbor, and of course, one is his own son. And his son is another story by itself. So he was, in my eyes, he was like another person. He was just like you and me. He had his morning, just like us. So if you can make him human, there's a lot more we can learn from Mohammed. We make him a very big Mahatma. We might lose learning or taking things from him.
Yes, such a wonderful way of looking at it. Actually, do not bestow him with that halo around his head. He was just as human with his
Absolutely.
human foibles like you and me. And
Absolutely.
I like your take on activism. Something I hope you've answered Ashish, and Ashish is happy with the answer that you've given. Wonderful. Like all good things, even this must come to an end. And before we actually come to a close, I would like to thank the audience for their enthusiastic participation. And of course, the tech teams of all the three schools for bringing this all together. And on behalf of the students and all the parents, I will thank the management of DPS Varanasi, Nashik, and Nagpur for this wonderful initiative, for making a little bit of history come alive. As you said, made it more human, brought it out of the books, and for this memorable celebration of the journey of an iconic personality, someone who has shown mankind the way out of the destructive side of human nature. Thank you. Thank you, Vikram, for taking us along. Thank you, everyone. Jai Hind.
Have a lovely evening, and thank you to the entire fraternity of teachers and the management. Thank you.
Thank you so much.